So what's today's story of old Duke going to be about? Well, let's see. We got Stuart. Okay. There's Falcon. Alright. And that's about it. I see. So we are still not using any of the older narrow gaugers. That's cool. Really what drew people to this part of Sodor was Duke. Everyone loved the scenery that was there, but it was really this guy that made people visit the lines.
Duke is the hero of all the engines. This is a story about him. It happened long ago when Peter Sam was called Stuart and Sir Handel Falcon.
Wait, so now Carlin is saying Falcon? Perplexing change in pronunciation there. The reason for people visiting was that Duke could always be relied upon. No one ever had a day that could not deny his determination. Even when he was feeling like garbage, he pushed on because he did not want to disappoint. What's more interesting is not only how Duke behaves, but basically acts like the older generation. I'm saying this as it relates even to people like parents, not just grandparents. I swear, they don't stop even if it hurts. That's nuts.
Every morning he took his passengers up the line and stopped anywhere they wanted. Beep, beep, he whistled. Please be ready when I come back for you.
But even with being the tough bulldog that he was, not everything went smoothly. Soon Duke's mechanical woes began to worsen. And of course, once one of the little engines discovered this, they couldn't help but tease the old steamer. As much as I feel jabbing can be obnoxious, I don't truly condemn Stuart's actions because I feel like they're out of love and not actual mean intentions. But then again, timing is everything, so...
His driver and fireman had just finished clearing his tubes when Stuart bustled in. Hello, Grandpuff, he teased. Are you short of puff? Nothing of the sort. This is routine maintenance.
It more or less is, but Stuart knows. Now only the other half has to know, and that won't take long, I'm sure. Stuart continued joking about how he and Falcon would end up having to help out if Duke were to break down. But Duke, feeling Stuart was being silly, left more frustrated than amused. Yet Duke did not admit that perhaps he was getting a little long on the tooth.
Duke couldn't stay cross for long. It was a lovely evening. Couldn't be better. Couldn't be better, he chuntered happily.
As he continued working throughout the day, the wear and tear started to show. Duke really began to notice this as he worked his way up an incline. My question is, did he really think he wasn't going to have a hard time? He was just showing signs of problems. I gotta say though, Duke reminds me of Edward to some degree. Both are old, have trouble running from time to time, and get teased about their age. But like many stories dealing with these types of underdogs, or bulldogs, the finish should be good.
But soon, Duke's puffs changed to wheezes. His valves were leaking steam. It's not so easy. It's not so easy, he croaked. But I'll manage.
When he finally reached the station, Duke's strength was beginning to wane. Passengers were a bit nervous, but that quickly dissolved when the two other engines arrived. Thankfully, these two were willing to help. I could see other engines rolling their eyes to have to help an old puff bag. Of course, they couldn't help themselves but pick on the old-timer anyway.
Poor old Grandpuff, what a shame you've broken down. Beep, 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 teased Stuart. This is the day. He was coupled on behind. Are you ready? Whistled Falcon. Yes, I am, replied Stuart, and away they went.
Of the two, Stuart was the one feeling extra good about himself. He really wanted to prove his mentor wrong. When they were at Rheneas' station, Falcon took another train back, while Stuart stuck around with old Duke. He was sure he would have the last laugh. However, what Stuart didn't know was that Duke was still a powerhouse. His valves just made him sound bad, and he found out soon enough as they reached the mountain line.
Now, said his driver. Duke puffed and roared as though he was pushing the whole train's weight before him. The noise echoed everywhere.
Betcha Stuart was shocked to hear that. Who knew an old smokestack like Grandpuff could produce such horsepower, and noise to boot? But this all worked in Duke's favor though. Even though he was just as tired as he was before because of his leaking valves, he managed to haul and push much of the train himself. And when they reached Croven's gate, Stuart was in for an even bigger surprise.
What happened? Asked the boy. They don't usually need two engines. Well, replied his father, Stuart broke down. Duke had to help him. It sounds as if he had a hard job, too. Duke and his driver's joke had worked. Fiddlesticks! Exclaimed Stuart, and he vanished in a cloud of steam. Duke wheezed alongside. Poor old engine, he teased. It's no good, Stuart. You can't win.
And that's just how it works sometimes, especially when it comes to your elders. This can be used and abused, but most of the time it's true. No matter what the older ones say, whether they are right or wrong, it is important to be respectful. Because in the end, you can't win, as Duke simply put it. This was another wonderful episode, mainly because it features Duke in all his wheezing glory. Stuart and Falcon are just another reminder to the audience that there's nothing wrong with being young, but there's still plenty of learning to do. On top of that, this episode also emphasizes just how hard older generations work. There's just no competition. We as young people will never understand and appreciate the crap our predecessors had to go through until we go through it ourselves. There's just so much they deal with day in and day out. Music was fun in this entry. Right at the very start, we get our trumpet signaling of Duke and his royal background. Throughout the rest of the narrative, the Skarloey Railway plays numerous times. And right in between all that, the viaduct or harbor theme is heard but also shifts to a minor key as Duke begins to lose his strength. Lastly, a bunch of new locations have popped up. Skarloey Station is at the end, which we've seen, but now we see Rheneas' station also by those double sheds in a few episodes back. As Duke gets water, we see the Howendori line, which also runs by the Sodor Castle Causeway. Of course, then there's Croven's Gate, Crossnakern Station, and the Mountain Line. All fresh geography nobody has seen yet. Next episode is 4 Little Engines. Thanks for watching.